Welcome back to Enlighten Up for episode 44, Parasite and Implant Removal, Chakra Integration, Astral Dream Tags, and Chi Meditation with Eric RAINES. We're really excited to have Eric join the show today for two reasons, and one of those reasons we're going to get into at the very beginning of the show, so I'll save that for then. But Eric has a wealth of information to share with us all. In fact, he's going to take us all through a beautiful Chi meditation towards the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about Astral Dream Tags and how Michael has a GPS locator that takes him up to holographic dream ships at night, and that's why he's got a little bit of a succubus problem. And of course, we're going to talk about chakra integration and how Eric uses only 3 of the chakras, and he's going to go into more reason as to why and how the color system, the light spectrum of the chakra system, is only limited to a very small percentage of what we are actually able to tap into. But to start things off, he's going to give us a beautiful story of his journey through awakening and figuring out how he had parasitic implants that needed removal and how he taught himself to do that. And of course, he's going to teach all of us how we can do it ourselves. So let's jump right into the episode and find out what Eric had to say. Hi everyone, welcome back to Enlighten Up. We have a really fun show for you today, and we have a very big announcement for all of you listening. But before we get to the big announcement, I would like to announce our guest today. Today we are joined by Eric RAINES, who is constantly expanding his repertoire of tools. He currently implements a variety of energetic tools ranging from parasite implant removal, meridian clearing and balancing, crystalline organ rejuvenation, theta healing, soul fragment retrieval, remote lymphatic work, and golden light energy work. He also utilizes physical-based practices such as quantum pause breathing, reverse breathing, self-lymphatic massage, cycle stretching, qigong, and meditation. And he's an ardent advocate of aiding the entire human race to achieve their full natural potential. Eric, welcome to Enlighten Up. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. I'm a huge fan of your work, mostly because you really do work with empowering the individual, and I think a couple of us on the show could use your services.
Yeah, definitely.
Speak for yourself.
And that's the thing. Well, there's most people on the planet who actually need these types of services and just don't have the awarenesses that are required to even understand what is going on. Like when I talk about etheric weight, nobody understands what that feels like until they've actually been pulled out from underneath etheric weight, you know, and these are the modalities and the techniques that I teach and I show everybody how to tap into.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about most of the things that Nicole mentioned that you do. I was glazed over, although Nicole got everybody sick here in Denver recently, and I think all of Denver, but definitely Lisa and I. But I went over to do yoga one day, and I was telling her, every time I get sick, I my lymph node in my neck. So I didn't know it was a thing. I thought I just created that for myself, but self-lymphatic massage. There you go. It's a thing.
Oh yeah, it's if you listen to your body will literally give you all the impulses and information that you need to translate exactly what is going on. And so that's what you were feeling. It's as simple as just recognizing that there's discomfort here, and when I press on it, it feels better. That's the way that the body speaks. It doesn't speak in English. It speaks in body language. Right.
Well, it hurts like hell, but that's just the way I do it.
Well, the thing about the body is that you want to stay underneath the pain threshold. We can get very, very uncomfortable and almost painful work all the way up to that pain threshold, but it's always that uncomfortable but good feeling. It's that therapeutic pain. And that's right there is what you actually want to stay inside of, because if you're operating inside of your body on the body language level and you understand how that works, when you create pain inside the body, your body's yelling at you like, hey, there's something dysfunctional here. Take care of this, fix this, stop doing that. And when we bring ourselves up to discomfort right underneath that, we aren't actually triggering ourselves into that full-blown pain response. And so we don't trigger and train pain and tension into the musculature itself. And so the next time you're doing that, press into it right until you feel that full-blown out.
Okay.
Lighten up by about...
I will dial it back, but it definitely works. It's
yeah.
always kept me from getting sicker or more sick.
You really didn't get like what Nicole and I got.
No, you guys were really down for the count, and it affected me for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And I credit it for jamming a finger in my lymph node.
Oh, definitely.
I accredit it to the fact that Lisa's and our frequencies are so high that we're not used to being as low as you are.
Nice try. You just wish.
Okay, so before we jump into the show, because we got lots to talk about, I wanted to make a huge announcement to everyone. We have officially launched a conference called Waves of Light, a conscious conference at sea. And it's going to be held January 17th through the 21st, 2019. And Eric is one of our keynotes, so we're really excited to have Eric on the cruise with us. And the whole conference, we would love you all to come join us. It's going to be on Royal Caribbean. The cruise ship is Brilliance of the Seas, and it's a 5-day cruise where we're going to discuss conscious empowerment. And our mission is to anchor this love consciousness into the collective and assist all in discovering their individual power to positively shift the Earth's timeline. And so this is a great opportunity for everyone to meet their frequency family and to really have the support through your own journey of self or your spiritual journey. There's going to be tons of great speakers. There's going to be tons of great workshops. We're going to actually have someone attune Reiki. So anyone who wants to get their Reiki 1, we're going to have someone there to do that, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's just going to be super great, and we're really excited. And so all of the information, if you're interested in coming on this cruise, we're going to leave it in the show notes, all the links that you need to. And we've set it up so that it's very affordable for people, and all you need is a $100 deposit to reserve your ticket, and then you can go on a monthly payment plan for 5 months starting in June. So there's lots of time to get it all together, and we're really excited about it. The 4 of us, Lisa, Brian, Michael, and I, are going to be on the cruise, and we're going to be doing a live Enlighten Up podcast with everyone, and we're actually going to do it hopefully like around the pool with some drinks, and so everyone can come in, and we're going to have mics that go around and make it really interactive. So it should be super fun. And
I think Michael and I will be, like giving out autographs.
I don't need to buy a ticket because I learned in one of my podcasts I can just come from like my bedroom and just visualize myself.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you can bilocate for sure. So Eric, thanks so much for coming on the show, and thanks for being a part of the Waves of Light conference.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm actually really excited about that cruise. I've personally never been on a cruise before, so this is going to be a first for me, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a first for me as well. I've never been on a cruise.
I've never been on a cruise.
Neither have I.
Oh my
Michael?
gosh, guys. Yeah, I've been on cruises, and yeah, just go through it and we'll talk at the end and see if you like it or not.
You're such a good promoter. I should hire you.
Thanks for that.
Okay, so Eric, I found you through a lot of your parasite implant removal stuff, and just from my own site and doing my own videos on negative entities and parasitic entities, that people really are intrigued by this topic. And so really excited to have you on here and give us some more insight into it. How did you understand the whole parasitic entity implant portion? Like how did you come into that?
So that actually kind of starts quite a bit earlier than the activation. It was actually December 21st, 2012, the day that everything was supposed to end, where I had this little piece of citrine that I carried around in my pocket, and it was just, like a little pocket stone. I wasn't really very conscious. I didn't really have any understanding other than I just really enjoyed carrying the stone around. And at about 11 o'clock in the morning, I was at my work, this little stone that I'd been carrying around for the past year or so suddenly stopped vibrating. And I didn't realize that it was emitting a frequency until all of a sudden I felt it stop. And it was just one of the biggest what the heck moments for me, to where I really didn't understand what was happening. And it really kind of tossed me into like a whole downward spiral of like, oh my God, there really is something to this date. There's all kinds of craziness. Like that just stopped. Like what's going on? And it really kind of dropped me off the deep end into a downward spiral of depression and anger. And it got really, really bad. And I believe it was the beginning of March in 2013, I ended up completely and totally shifting my whole entire life around. So from that point in time, December 21st, all the way up to the beginning of March, it was less than 3 months. My life destabilized to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And I literally had to take my daughter and move away to California and go live with my mom. And so when I was living with my mom, I didn't have a job. I had to go through a whole bunch of court stuff just to get my daughter out of Nevada to begin with. And nobody was there to watch her, so I wasn't working when I was there. And so I literally had like no money. I had no ability to do anything whatsoever. And I had to rely on friends and family to keep me above water, me and my daughter above water. And it was the same situation I've seen multiple people go through, but at the same time, instead of becoming very depressed about it, I realized how much time I had to work on myself. And I went through a whole process of self-improvement, from yoga to exercising to energetic practices to meditation and sun gazing and good food and all these different things. And for a period of about 6 months, I was energetically working out, I was physically working out, and I was just becoming much more sharp inside of myself and my mind and my focus. This all culminated, when was that? So it was when I was in massage school, and I believe it was February 19th, 2014. That evening, I had heard I don't even know what you call it. It's not a modality. It's more like a technique. They called it chakra removal at the time. And I heard about this maybe 3 or 4 months before then, and it just stuck with me. And the first instinctive response I had to this term, chakra removal, is that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Those are connected into your endocrine glands. If you remove your endocrine system, you're going to die. This is stupid. And yet at the same time, I couldn't get this out of my head. And so I was doing all this self-work and the self-improvement, becoming much more aware of who I was internally. I was starting to do Reiki. I was having energy work done to me. I was doing it to other people. And yet there was still just this level that I knew I was supposed to be able to achieve, and I hadn't been able to feel yet. And it all culminated this one night when I started doing some more research on the chakra removal, and I came across this article called The Secret of the Chakras. And this really broke it all down for me. When we're looking at the visible light spectrum, visible light is only about 0.1 or 1.7% of the entire electromagnetic field. And when we try to look at the world around us, everything that we see is inside of that 1.7%. So we're literally missing, the 98.3% of everything else that is there, because we just don't have any awareness with our visible perception of it. And what happens is when you break apart a beam of sunlight, you can see all of these aspects of color inside of it, plus all the things that we can't see with our visible eyes, the X-ray, the gamma ray, the infrared, the ultraviolet, all these aspects of light that we don't have any frame of reference for visually. Now, most energy work in our type of a paradigm is done inside of this visible light color. And what the secret of the chakras really kind of broke down was how it's not about it's a removal, it's an integration. It's taking you out of that 1.7% into the full 100%. And so I ended up doing this meditation that I was trying to figure out for about 4 months or so. And I'm actually putting together a course right now on all these different transition phases of the body to shift into the Golden Dantian system so that people can do it themselves. But when I finally culminated this, it was the night of February 19th, 2013. And when I lit up the 7 color chakra centers and I laid them on top of this golden sun, they were all just floating there in this light. And when I released them and I opened them up into the light, it was like all of a sudden they integrated back into the whole, and then the whole exploded inside of my chest. And I had this star that was one of the most intense things I've ever experienced before in my life. I had heat that was so hot, it was burning my chin. I had a magnetic pushback that I couldn't push into about maybe 2.5 feet away from my chest. And if I did, it was about 35 degrees hotter than everything else. And yet at the same time, I was having this crazy consciousness split to where I could, inside my own internal awareness, feel the world around me for about 50 feet. And I'm talking about like all the way down to the molecular level. Now, at the same time this is happening, I'm having this stretching happening inside of me that felt like ancient muscles that were, just, oh, finally. And I just felt phenomenal. I felt like I was lifting off of the ground. I felt like I was getting brighter and stronger and more light, like I was hollowing out my body with nothing but pure light. And at the same time, I had this snap that happened in my right temple and started sliding backwards in my head. I didn't know it was there until it snapped and started moving. And then as soon as it started to shift, it started to get painful. And it took maybe about 7 or 8 seconds to slide from right up above my ear all the way to the back of my head. But in that 7 or 8 seconds, the pain got way more intense until it got to the point at the back of the head, it felt like I had a red hot iron being hammered into the back of my skull. And at the same time, what started off as my internal voice got crazier and more distorted and more demonic until I've got this crazy pain in the back of my head. I've got this demon monster screaming at me inside of my head. And at the same time, I'm dealing with more energy than I've ever felt inside of my body ever. And it was a very intense activation moment to where I recognized I've got these black spots inside of me that are not me. And there's something talking inside of my head that is not me. And so I immediately tried to remove this thing, and it took me about 3 hours that first night. By the time I was done with the one in my head, I recognized there were about 4 or 5 other spots inside of my body that were really dark as well. And I pulled those out, and then everything was done. And so here I was sitting there, just absolutely flabbergasted. Like, I am insane. I need to call the psychiatric people. I need to go to the nut house. I just had a demon screaming inside of my head. What is going on here? And yet at the same time, I'm feeling amazing. I can close my eyes and I can feel anywhere, literally anywhere. And not just as like a visual representation, but almost like I'm inside of it. Like I can feel it, like I'm right there, but on a deeper level than I've ever felt before. Like I could pass my hand through a wall. At the same time, all the pain that I had in my body was completely and totally gone. My mind was completely and totally silent, and I felt like I'd lost almost 100 pounds, and I was floating like a balloon. And so I go through the next, I'd say about 2 weeks or so, and I'm still, borderline, I'm crazy, this is amazing, I'm crazy, what's going on here, this is phenomenal, look what's happening, oh, I'm insane, and after about this 2-week period, I started talking about it. And I told this lady who was doing Reiki on me about what happened, and she didn't believe me. And so she ended up working on me. And what happened was every single thing that she was doing, I could see it on a level with my eyes closed that it's just like I'm looking with my eyes open. But I could see the energy flow coming through her. And inside of her, I saw all these black spots. And so we got done with the session. And I said, so what was going on? What'd you notice? And she tells me, she's like, well, you don't have chakras. Like, I didn't believe you, but you don't have chakras. There's something there, like when I plugged into it, it was like tapping directly into source. And I felt like a live wire current that went all the way through where I was connecting all the way out my feet. And honestly, I think you worked on me. And I said, well, that's really interesting because what I was doing is I was paying attention to your body as you were doing this work. And I could feel everywhere where you went and you tried to touch, and my energy instinctively went up and wouldn't let you in because you have these black things in you. Can I take those out? And she says, yeah, I'd love to see what happens. And so I took these things out, and that was my first implant removal. And then she felt amazing. Chronic pain that she had in her shoulder disappeared. Suddenly she was able to move her shoulder around. Her head was completely and totally, chock full of got to do this, got to do that, got to worry about this, got to have to get that done. Completely and totally silent. And then she could move energy on a level that she'd never experienced before in her life. Like she was completely open, and she was able to tap into the same type of sun energy that I was tapping into and then use it to do the work on me afterwards. So that was my whole introduction to this thing. And what I did is I just kind of played it close to the chest. Every once in a while, if I felt somebody who might have been open to this information, open to this energy work, I would hey, I've been figuring this blah, 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 blah out. Can I practice? Can I try this out? And every single time, 100% of the time, we would have major results. The results were silence of mind, pain-free body, and open flow inside the body with an emotional sense of calm, relaxation, and centering. And so we started really trying to figure out what is going on here? What's happening? What is all this doing? What is the reason for this? And it literally led me from one step to the next, to the next, to the next, to understand that this is not just black spots inside of people. This is a whole entire prison planet that we have been stuck inside of. And this is the reason that the world is the way that it is. So this was a big, scary understanding for me. And so I was really kind of, I guess you could say, hesitant to dive into this because let's face it, it's kind of scary. And there's a lot of people who inside of the New Age community, they believe that they have ultimate authority over themselves and their bodies, which yes, they do if they gain that control and they gain that autonomy. But the problem is everybody's stuck inside of their mind. They don't understand what their spirit or their body feels like internally. And so this is what we started doing, is reverse engineering everything that they were blocking off, bringing the flow into those places, activating them up, and then using that to expand out into different levels of awareness and experience. And that would literally graduate into another set of abilities, another set of understanding. And it's pretty much one step in front of the other until I'm here today, to where I've worked on, 6,000 plus people. Like it's kind of crazy with how fast and how explosive this growth has gone. But the thing is, when you tap into the topic of topics, and more importantly, you start to activate yourself on these levels, you recognize how truly amazing you are. And it's not about how scary the system is, because yes, let's face it, this is a scary type of a thing to recognize. We're under a multidimensional influence that we can't see, we can't fight against on any physical level, and there's no defense for it other than finding your own sovereignty, finding your own energy. And so what we've done is just been reverse engineering this the whole entire time. And man, it's an adventure. I'm telling you, it's an adventure like I've never even knew was possible. Like I literally live in a story every single day. Like we hear about these legends and these myths from the past, and it's got nothing on what we're going through right now. Yeah. It's got nothing on the story that each of us can tap into. It's really amazing.
You make a really good point in that it's so hard for people to know what their sovereignty feels like when they don't even know how their body feels. Like Brian, you are pretty disconnected from your body, and you're just starting to learn how to like feel with your body.
Yeah, it's it is an interesting process. Our naturopath thought that would be something helpful for me. You mentioned it, since I've started practicing yoga with you. And I mean, even some recent conversations that I've had with Lisa, I'm disconnected. So it's an interesting thing to pay attention to, and I'm not the benefits. For me to be able to do it, I just don't understand what's going to happen once I get there. Lisa just laughed at me.
No, I'm not laughing at you.
So judgy, Lisa.
I'm just, it's like the difference between night and day. It's such a dramatic difference. I laughed like, well, when it happens, you're going to know.
Yeah.
Well, and it very well may be the difference between night and day, but
you have no frame of reference.
If I've never done it, I don't know it. So I assume you want to say that I'm in the darkness. So if I've been in the darkness for so long, I don't know what it's like to be in the sunshine.
I'm really curious about this removal of the chakras. I don't think I quite understand what it is that you're saying.
Okay. So if we have 100% of the full spectrum energy of sunlight, the brilliant golden sunlight, and we take a prism and then we break that beam apart, you can break into each of the individual frequencies that are inside of it. So you can see the rainbow colors. You also can't see all the invisible aspects of it because it's only 1.7% of the entire electromagnetic frequency. And so the rainbow colors, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet chakra centers of the body that are all connected to the endocrine centers, those right there are stuck inside of that color frequency. And if we take that 1.7% and we break it into 7 different pieces, that's 0.33% roughly of the entire energetic spectrum that you're supposed to be able to access. And so when we use these colored chakra centers on that level, that's what we're using, is 30.33% of the entirety of what's supposed to be accessed. Now, if we're using the entire visible light spectrum, yes, it's still effective. Yes, we're still moving energy, but you're still missing a good 98% of the strength of what you're supposed to be able to access. Now, that's just with the energy work itself. If we're looking at changing and shifting the energy centers of the body, what you need to do is start drawing into the color centers themselves and turning them into brilliant, bright colors of light, brilliant golden light. And the more you make this connection right here, the more of this golden energy you can actually use inside your body, and the more that your body begins to shift to use this energy as a natural source instead of something that you have to stretch for. Does that make sense?
Honestly, no. That went right over my head.
Okay, so let's try to break it down even more.
Well, you said the removal of the chakras. So I'm like, okay, I get that there's these chakras.
Oh, you don't remove anything. It's an integration. It's an integration from that 0.33% into 100%.
Okay, and I have heard others speak of there being more than the 7 chakras that we think there are.
So I actually use less. I use 3. I use the Dantian system, and this has been mapped out by the Chinese for thousands of years now. The Dantian systems, the way that they operate is if you're looking at a baby being formed in utero, the neuronal tissue that we call the brain is not just the brain. It actually splits into 3 different parts. One becomes the heart, one becomes the intestines, and one becomes the brain. Now, this is why the heart muscle cells themselves are completely different than any other muscle cell in the body. It's because they are half neuronal tissue. And then the intestines inside of the body, these are tubes of neuronal tissue as well. And so we always hear about, go with your gut, the belly brain, stuff like that. That's because we literally have a second set of consciousness inside of the body that we don't interact with on the mind level. The mind level interacts on spoken language. The belly brain, the gut instinct, operates off of intention, off of impulse, off of emotion. And so the transformer, the heart space, right in between the logical thinking mind and the belly brain, this is what we want to use. We want to start really lighting up the sun of the heart space and really blasting it out there, because this translates all those internal impulses that we don't have a logical translation center, I guess you could say. And it allows you to translate directly from the body in real time. So instead of having to understand the chi on a cognitive level, you go into the experience and actually feel it.
That makes a lot of sense to me, in the sense that if we think about the law of one, and that we're not separate, that to have these separated chakras of colors, it kind of doesn't make sense from if we're trying to merge everything back to what some people call it Christ consciousness. And I know like the gold energy is representative of the Christ consciousness. So I've been using gold a lot. I myself have a meditation that I created using gold energy for protection. And I just find the gold extremely powerful.
So the gold, I find, is an amazing foundation, but you can actually accrete layers of other frequencies on top of it. One of my favorite ones to do, like the next time that you're using your gold energy, start sparking silver, platinum, static, and lightning bolts through it as well. And that's one of my favorite combinations right there. But there's so many different resonances that you can learn what they feel like and then apply them to your own chi. And this is how you start gaining that frequency resonance repertoire, to where if you come into contact with something, you have awareness of it, instead of like he was saying, if you don't know what it's like to have the awareness, you don't know what it's like to not have the awareness. And so you might have something interfering with you that there's something there, but you just can't feel it. So you want to really start playing around with different types of frequencies.
Yeah.
So when
anything. Go ahead.
Are you shooting like lightning bolts from your fingers when you're doing this? I mean, I don't. When you talked about you spark, or you said next time you're using the gold energy, you spark or shoot lightning. And
so I use my energy in a very soft, amorphous, flowing type of way. I don't really enjoy angles. I don't enjoy straight lines. I enjoy almost like water. And so I will accrete and build up waves of energy that if there's darkness around somebody, I'll create such a bright wave of light that when I flush over them and through them, it dissolves anything that's stuck, heavy, or nasty inside of their field. And it shows me exactly inside of that light where the darkness is resisting the light. Once I have that understanding of like, hey, that spot right there, that's resisting the light and it's pushing back on it, let's go and focus right there. And then I'll start using different frequencies to say, for instance, electricity. It's a really good way to paralyze and stun things. And so I'll pull like a current of electricity around and through it, and you'll feel it kind of like just spark a little bit, because these are all energetic and multidimensional consciousnesses. And when you use energy, you're working on the realms and the realities that they exist inside of. And so when you start flowing these through them, you'll feel them get weak, you'll feel them shift and move around. But like I said, there's all kinds of different frequencies that you can use. I just use the golden frequency as a foundation. You can apply magnetism, you can apply radiation, gravity, vacuum energy, void space energy. I mean, there's so many different frequencies of things out there, but by and large, I'd say about 80 to 85% of everything out there on the astral level that's screwing with humanity, it can be taken care of by the gold light. It's only the bigger things, like once you get really, really good at doing this, then they have to kind of shut you down because you're wrecking their grid. And so they'll bring out the bigger guns, and that's an opportunity to start learning some new stuff right then. So
Michael has been told he has a succubus problem on an earlier podcast.
and Jezebel.
Yeah, Jezebel. He's has had sleep paralysis and seen shadow people in his room. Are you able to pick up on anything and find out like if Michael is infested?
Oh yeah. So one of the biggest things that I'm actually seeing is an astral dream tag on him. And he's got 2 smaller ones, but 1 big one. And so whenever he goes into the astral, this thing, it kind of turns on. Just like our dream body is not awake and conscious when we're awake, our physical body is not awake and conscious when we're dreaming. And we kind of switch spots and we hop into the astral and we flow through onto that level. Whenever he activates that level of his body, the dream tag actually turns on, and it's like a GPS locator. And they have these holographic dream ships that they go and they pull people into, and there's nightmares and there's things that are customized specifically for them to give the maximum amount of emotional response, because these things, they don't feed off of food or water or air like we do. They feed off of negative emotional resonance, and this is one of the reasons why the world is the way that it is.
Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry here. Holographic dream ships.
Oh yeah. Well, you have to explain what they are in the way that can be understood, because if I were to tell you what I saw, this massive black and silver metallic type of a device that has a gravity that sucks people into it like it's eating them, like that's kind of a way scarier thing to drop on people than, like a holographic dream ship, because what it does is it'll suck you up.
Sounds like something from an episode of Star Trek.
Actually, Star Trek's got way more disclosure in it than a lot of people realize. There's one of them specifically that I saw a clip of it, and I went and I rewatched the whole entire Star Trek Voyager seasons because it was called Janeway versus the Archon. And the Archon literally had her trapped inside of that holographic reality, which is kind of like what we're talking about with the dreams right here. And it had her trapped inside of that holographic reality, and it was just lying to her and tricking her and trying to get her to, pass through to that other side so it could feed off of her. And it's the exact same type of a thing that's going on in this reality right here. It's just that, we have so many limited perceptions that we don't know what it's like to be a multidimensional creature, despite the fact that we're directly connected into it. We're so stuck inside of our heads that we can't release that mental energy into the entire nervous system, because we are not a brain and a nervous system. We're a nervous system with a brain. It's just that we're stuck inside of the brain.
But we're in control of our own hologram.
Yes and no. If you understand how you operate inside of this reality, yeah, you're 100% in control of it. But if you don't, if you're constantly feeding more emotional poison into your body by say, for instance, you've got traumas from the past, you've got grudges with people, and you regularly think about these people with, anger in your heart, with that stuck feeling in your stomach, that burning, roiling sensation, you're literally creating more poisons that create more back doors for these things to open you up and start manipulating you more, because they will try to give you holographic inserts of thoughts, of emotions, of images. And this is why you end up with people who Well, I don't even know why I did that. It was like I was on autopilot, you know, and we hear that all the time. We've been on that all, you know, and multiple times in our life before we were conscious of these things. And so, yes, you can have complete and total control of your hologram if you understand how you connect in on the body, the mind, and the spirit level, and you're actively cleaning out any of these back doors. And the more you clean out these back doors, the more you clean out these emotional poisons inside the body, the less chance you have for anything, people, influences on the outside, energies, entities, anything to pull you away from your sovereignty. Because when we look at it from the understanding of consciousness, like there's no way that you guys can prove to anybody that they're real. You can only prove to yourself that you are real. And when we look at it in this way, we recognize that we are in control of our own reality around us, but we're also a part of the collective. And the collective agrees that things are really, really shut up and blocked up and screwed up right now. And so we have to operate inside of those levels, inside of our own autonomous universe, until we clean out all those connections, until we can start reacting and acting inside of the outside collective, because we're strong enough and we know our base on the inside.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, I feel like, I mean, for me recently, the more I've been learning, we interviewed Marina Jacoby recently, and I've been watching a lot of her things on quantum manifestation and things like that, and completely, you know, just, you know, buying into and trying to understand this whole hologram and matrix system and how this all works. And I feel like the more I delve into it, the more I feel like I got turned upside down. Like I can't, the past couple of days, I literally can't even think straight. I don't even know what the hell happened to me.
That's the problem with recognizing that everything that you thought was real is not. You know, it really tosses everything upside down. But
it's not.
Let's try to break it down into it. So go ahead.
I just said it's not good. It's like the more I become aware of this stuff, the worse things get.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the major thing that we all need to recognize is, yes, there are some crazy things that are happening, but here's the reason that they are there. Us. We are the reasons that they are here. We are the flames that are lighting up the system. And while they still look at us as cattle, as they look at us as non-conscious, you know, chattel, what we are is magnificent beyond measure. What we are is amazing beyond measure. And despite the fact that we have some very, you know, scary things that are in front of us that we have to understand and work through, when you focus on, yes, we're aware of that, like there's a hornet in the room, but I don't have any hate to that hornet. I just want to be aware of where it's at so I don't get stung. And at the same time, I'm working on becoming as amazing and as powerful inside of myself as possible. We can start using this scary system, these checks on the outside, to recognize like, hey, they are really, really trying to block this flow down right here. Let's do everything to open that back up. Let's do everything to clean this out. Let's see what happens. Let's turn this on and make it bright. And then suddenly you've got a whole new level of ability that you didn't even know was possible. You've got a whole new level of feeling inside of yourself that you didn't know was possible. And like when we're talking about manifestation, one of the things that people don't really realize is the subconscious has such a powerful sway on what we're trying to manifest. And if we have all these traumas, all these angers, all these grudges from the past that are still inside of us, 95% of the time, that's what we're focusing on unconsciously. And it's only that 5% of the time when we're actually saying, hey, this is what I prefer. Hey, this is what I want to do. Hey, this is what I want to project into the world. That's when we're doing our manifestation. And yet the other 95% of the time, we're reflecting pain, we're reflecting anger, we're reflecting blockage into the mirror of the universe. And so it has no choice but to reflect back to you what you honestly don't prefer, because you're reflecting it back to it, because we don't have the awareness internally to go and clean that out and say, hey, I have so much in here of what I do prefer. There's no room for anything that I don't. And then you start to reflect out into the universe exactly what you do want: abundance, happiness, openness, connection, family. And it's all about recognizing that there's not really anything that can get in your way of manifestation other than you. And despite the fact that most of the influences and traumas and damage came from the outside, it's still you who is engaging in those negative emotions, in building up those poisons. And so despite the fact that they are negatively oriented emotions, and we don't prefer them, they don't feel good inside the body, they are still human emotions. And so if we ignore them, if we don't honor them, if we don't allow them to pass through, they build up into poison. They hit a wall, and then they just keep on building up and building up and building up, like a traffic accident on the freeway when there's a blizzard. Like, people can't see it, and more cars keep coming, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And that's exactly what happens. And so by stepping into the ability to see where you're going in the mind, body, spirit level, you can take that awareness internally and say, oh my goodness, that right there, that tension that I'm feeling, as I breathe through that, as I blossom this open into relaxation, and I bring laughter and joy and light into it, I am feeling such an overwhelming feeling of sadness. And like, I feel frustrated with it too. Okay, where is that? And like, every time that you have sadness, every time you have anger, every time you have shame, there's always a physical sensation somewhere in the abdomen, the chest, the throat, wherever it might be. There's a burning, there's a tension, there's a movement. That right there is the energy of the emotion. And we just think that these are natural sensations inside of our body, and so we pay no attention to them. When you have that awareness, you can then take the awareness into that sensation, blossom it open, flush that blockage loose, and then clean out the poisons and put what you do prefer inside of the body. As soon as you have as much inside of you that you prefer to where there's no room for anything else, your body literally cannot handle anything that is negative, that is toxic, and you just slough it off like water off of a duck's back. It's just, it takes work getting to that point. Once you get there, it's easy. It's like, getting into shape. Getting into shape is not easy, but once you're there, you got to work out, like 45 minutes a week, and you're good to go.
Yeah. And
I gotta say, I'm glad you're going to be on the cruise. I don't know. You break things down in a way that I can understand and get my mind around. And I think that's great. I think a lot of people that are probably in your position can't communicate at a level to somebody like me that, doesn't understand and or believe, anything you're talking about.
I think it's a really hard pill to swallow for me. Not for me. I don't know. Just in general, just the full understanding of the 100% responsibility I feel like I have for everything that I project in my life. And it's just, sometimes it's a little overwhelming when you feel like things don't feel right or you don't feel good, and trying to take and understand how to fix that when you know that there's nothing outside of you that's responsible.
And that's the beauty of being somebody like me.
No.
Doesn't feel like he's responsible for anything, and I can just blip and blop around my life and not give a shit.
No. So this is whenever I talk about these negative entity videos, I always say that your awareness is so paramount, because when you don't have the awareness, you can't say no to these things. You don't know that they exist, so you can't say no, which means your sovereignty is always compromised. You don't know what sovereignty feels like yet. And so in this whole like ignorance is bliss kind of thing, well, I mean, what's that level of bliss? It could be that, or it could be so much better. I'm curious.
Very high level of bliss, by the way.
I'm really curious because we haven't heard from Michael.
I was just waiting for a moment, but it's interesting, Brian, what you bring up, because going back to my she-bitch devil problem, whatever it was, and how there's like one, like Eric, you were saying, there's one big thing that latches onto me whenever I try to get into the quote-unquote astral plane. It's interesting because I was truly trying to work on myself in that kind of realm. Talking with Lisa and Nicole for so long, you can't help it. But once I got into what I was thinking was progress, that's when all that bad shit started happening to me. Mm-hmm. And so I quickly backed out, and I'm back with Brian saying, you know what? Don't worry about it. You can keep it. Because I haven't been like doing any kind of meditations. I haven't been doing any of that kind of stuff, and I've been just fine. So ignorance is bliss, maybe, but like I'm not sure if you're not really prepared to deal with that whatever plane, if you got some negative shit after you, why put yourself out there as bait like the goat in Jurassic Park?
Hold on a second. I have to call bullshit. Because you, and I'm not going to like go into specifics, but you're not fine. You've had some things come up where you're like struggling with certain issues. So how do you call that fine?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I don't have devils pinning me down in the freaking middle of the night. See, I will deal with bad days. I will deal with bad days and shit on my own. I just don't need that stuff at night in weird theatrical ways.
Have you thought about it this way, that maybe they're not pinning you down because you're already down?
Oh, for God's sakes, no.
Hey, just relish the fact that you're, on a holodeck, and maybe you'll run into 7 of 9.
That must have been a Star Trek.
There's a Star Trek geek right there.
Star Trek geek. Yep, no, totally.
Just give me a green woman in a bikini in my holodeck, and I'm fine.
Well, let's put it this way. You said when you started doing work and you started getting on top of these issues that were bothering you, that's when all the shit started to happen. That right there is a major clue for you. It's not that you have, as you call this she bitch holding you down in your dreams. It's that suddenly you became aware of it, because as you were cleaning out her food supply, she said, "Oh my God, we need to bring this back. We need to shut this down, and you can't do this work. You are not allowed to do this. I am going to make sure that you are an effortless open food supply for me." That's what's going on.
Interesting. So is there a pill that I can take?
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm for. Do you want me to clean off that astral tag for you? I can do it right now. I see it plain as day.
Yes, please do.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down a connection from source right up above you. And what I want you to do is just kind of feel the top of your head and pay attention to it as we bring this down. And let's just judge the level of chi affinity. Don't feel it with your hand. just take your awareness to the top of the head and feel if there's any sensations like prickling, blood flow, anything like that. I'm going to bring this connection down. There we go, right into the heart space and down through into the feet. Then I'm going to bring this right back up and through, and we're going to use the heart space connection to open up into the astral. There we go. All right, I'm going to start cleaning off these tags. 1, 2, get the little ones. And then we're going to get this big one right here. And I have to take this back to this, the holographic ship dream generator place that I guess you can call it. I'm going to take this all the way back to that. I'm going to smash this in together, and I'm going to start feeding it back its own energy. Everything that it's been putting out into the world, because you're not the only one that this is affecting right here. These things are massive. They can handle hundreds of thousands of people at one time. I'm going to pull all the darkness that it's been spreading into the world right back into it. There we go. It's starting to get nice and weak. Opening up a connection to source. There we go. It's gone. Now, how do you feel?
Lisa just started speaking light language.
I felt it.
I concentrated on that. If anything, if I have to give you any kind of credit, I felt like a cool tingling on the top of my head. But again, I don't know if that's just because I was concentrating for the first time ever on top of my head or not.
Well, that's the thing. Awareness brings understanding. And as you bring that internal laser-like beam of focus into different areas of the body, you naturally create more chi flow. And that's what all the awareness inside of the body is all about. Because blood is synonymous with chi. Chi is synonymous with blood. And if you look at the way blood operates, it's a dipole construct. There's a positive and a negative side that holds a charge. Now, what is the most common element in blood besides water?
Iron.
Iron, right? Mm-hmm. And so as you concentrate your intention, your awareness into the blood flow, you are literally charging magnetically inside of your body the liquid crystal of your dipole construct of the blood. Does that make sense?
No, but I'll believe you.
He'll re-listen.
Long story short,
now being on the skeptic,
your attention, if you bring your awareness into your attention, all of a sudden you have tingles. That's the chi.
Okay, so being on the skeptic side too, what other things can I look out in my life in the next few days to see if there is a difference?
So that right there was nothing but the astral side right there. And so there was a bit of a blockage in your chi flow. That's why you felt that tingling and that cool opening right there. That wasn't much that actually happened inside of the body. So the only things that you're going to notice from that is a lack of, crazy succubus type energies or anything like that.
Cool.
More importantly, you're not going to have any crazy dreams. If you do have any crazy dreams, it's going to be crazy amazing instead of crazy awful.
Wow.
Which is interesting because I have been telling Nicole that my dreams have been pretty effed up these past couple of months. Really, really effed up, but in an entertaining kind of way.
Okay, well, you definitely have to report back then after a couple of nights or the next time we do the recording in a week, what kind of dreams you have.
I will, and I love dreams. I mean, my dreams are so entertaining. It's like I wish I could just press a button and go straight to sleep instead of watching my favorite TV show.
If I could sleep all day, I would.
Yeah, so I'll keep you guys informed.
Okay, so maybe if you can some more, and I think you should just look at all of us, but I think Lisa in particular, something has been happening the last couple of days, and I'd be, do you see anything on my lovely life?
Well, I feel like I went on a deep dive into some of this, I don't know, just some codes and different things that YouTube videos and some downloads.
You feel that tension in your solar plexus in your chest, Lisa?
Yeah.
That right there is where it's hooking in through. It's actually hooking in through the back of your heart space. This is where the inner child energy is. You find it hard to smile and be joyful lately?
I have absolutely no sense of humor right now.
Literally, before we started the podcast, I said something earlier and Nicole said something that was funny, and Lisa's like totally humorless.
Yeah. So what they try to do is keep away the energies that allow you to clean out their resonances, because what they need is blockage. They need stagnancy. They need negative vibration emotions that have no purpose. You find depression for no reason. You find anger for no reason. You find shame for no reason, unless it's things in the past that are traumatizing. And these are the things, unless we go in and release them, that they can actually call up that energy anytime, anywhere, like pressing a button. And suddenly you have those memories, you have those thought loops, you have those feelings running through you. And it's really easy to drag you down if you're already on that level. And so what they try to do is shut off the ability for you to feel anything positive. And positive emotions makes their environment incredibly inhospitable, and they start getting flushed out because positive emotions are dynamic fluid motion that is light. Negative emotions are lack of dynamic fluid motion that's concreted and stuck in dark. And so we literally are just playing around with polarities right now. It's just that one is a false darkness, and we have to tap into true light because there is no darkness, even the false darkness, that can handle even just the tiniest flame turning on. So, actually, this is a really good time to walk you guys all through a chi meditation so that you can tap into it, and then I can work on cleaning all of you guys out. You want to do that?
Yes.
All right.
So,
all right.
Full disclosure, though, I'm pretty powerful, so when you look at me, you might need to wear your astral shades.
Well, I've definitely dealt with some bright lights before, so I will put my welding goggles on and then hope for the best, okay?
Good.
Oh, we love you, Brian.
All right, so this will, everybody at home too, I want you guys all to really just kind of get into a relaxed state right now. If you feel you're more comfortable laying down, lay down. If you feel like you can do this sitting up, sit up. There's a little bit of a technique that we do that's sitting up that makes it a bit more powerful. But if you feel more comfortable laying down, go ahead and do that. That way you can fully relax into this. And what I want everybody to start doing is to really begin finding the breath. And this is just a very simple, deep, full-bodied inhalation from the belly all the way up to the chest. And on the exhale, completely and totally relax and let it go. And it sounds something like this. Making that exhale a full body relaxation where you're not holding on to the air in the throat. You're not pushing it out with the chest or the abdomen. You're just letting it go. A full deep inhalation, relaxing the abdomen, relaxing the chest, and then a complete release, letting it out. Let's find this for about a minute to a minute and a half or so. And as you're inside of this breathing pattern, I'll explain what's happening here. So the autonomic nervous system, this controls everything automatic. The endocrine function, the heartbeat, the breathing, the digestion, the reproduction, the fight or flight responses. And out of all of these, the only one you have conscious control over is the breath. By taking yourself out of the shallow automatic breathing and taking yourself into a deep, full body breath pattern, you're literally telling the autonomic nervous system through body language, not by asking in English, to calm, to relax. And it has no choice. You're literally walking up to that button and you're pressing it out of fight or flight and into rest and relaxation. And this begins dropping the brain patterning out of the alpha and the beta states, deeper into the delta and the theta states. Let's really sink into this deep breath. And already you might be feeling some tingles and some movement in the body. Let's just not focus on that yet. Let's just let that build in the background. And what we're going to do is begin evoking body language. And this is not the internal response that gives away what's happening on the inside through involuntary reaction. This is the way that the body speaks outside of spoken word. This is impulse. This is emotion, sensation, visualization. We don't ever ask the body to do anything. We literally walk up and lead it by the hand, by experiencing, by doing. What I want you guys to do is begin to feel your brain. Take that internal awareness, that flashlight of your internal world, and point it into the skull. Just feel. And if you can't feel the brain, make a sensation. Give yourself a spongy, rubbery texture that you can feel, using these deep, full inhalations to create as much sensational awareness as the nervous system will allow as you're dropping it into deeper and deeper states. And the body language command we are going to use here, because once you have awareness, you can shift internally. And once you are aware of the brain, we can shift it into the body. Because again, we do not have a nervous system and a brain. We have a nervous system with a brain with a nervous system. They are not two separates. On the next inhale, I want you to hold the breath at the top and gently let it drain out, leading the air out. And at the same time, I want you to dissolve this rubbery texture of the brain into liquid and steam and drain it down through the nervous system, down through the spinal column, filling the entire body, from the tips of the toes to the tips of the fingers to the tips of the hair, and every cubic inch of bone, muscle, tendon, ligament, and organ, all the way to the skin in between. And this is the body language command for nervous system reconnection. We don't ask the brain for more awareness of the body. We literally take the energy into the body by doing. And immediately, I want you guys to tune into the sensations in the skin, giving yourself something concrete to take this focus and look at, to feel. Begin noticing the temperature around you to start off with. Noticing how these deep inhalations stretch the skin, move the skin underneath the clothes. And how when you inhale, you lose room inside of the shirt. And how when you exhale into relaxation, you gain more, you gain movement and gliding across the skin. And now that we're aware of it, turn that volume dial up. We don't ask, we do. Make these sensations incredibly intense. Stronger and stronger until you're feeling the glide of the shirt across the skin in a much more intense manner than you've ever felt it, ever. And it's very easy to do. All you need to do is know where to look, because this is where we have to go for the chi, is this internal understanding. We can't think about this. We have to experience it on the body level, because the mind can only handle 5, 6, maybe even 7 different sensations if you're really good. The body handles, processes, and translates hundreds of thousands per second. And what you're doing right now is you're opening up this connection, is you're letting the body know, I'm demanding internal resonance awareness. I'm demanding nervous system connection. I do not want to be inside of the brain. I prefer complete understanding. And now this is just the surface level of the skin, and already there's many, many sensations that are being woken up here, but there's so many that you have no idea about already. Case in point, you have no idea about the pants until I bring awareness, and then it's plain as day. About the gravity pressing you down, the weight of the tongue in the mouth, the swirl of the oxygen as it pulls up through into the nose and the face. So many sensations, so much awareness inside of the body, and it's all about extending into all of it, because it's in this stillness, it's in this deep body awareness that the chi is. Let's go ahead and drop this down one more level right into the musculature, specifically the muscles of the abdomen and the chest, using these deep, full inhalations to probe slowly to evoke as much sensation as you can. Recognizing just by breathing and paying attention, you can use the sensation to map out the entire musculature of the abdomen. Noticing at the top of the breath how you can literally feel the connection points as it hooks into the bottom of the rib cage, the top of the pelvis, and it balloons out, opening up the abdomen, pumping more blood flow, more nutrients, more minerals through all the organs as you can feel the heat beginning to form inside the muscles, radiating out through the skin. Turn this volume dial up, going deeper into the body, deeper into the awareness. Begin using that inhalation to follow the stretching of the abdomen right up into the stretching in between the ribs of the rib cage. Feeling how at the top of the breath, everything's straining to open to pull just a little bit more air in, and it relaxes back into continuity. Deep breaths in, feeling all of this shifting, feeling the skin under the clothes, feeling the temperature, feeling the muscles gliding underneath the skin, pulling on the bones. And now that we have awareness, we can begin to shift. On the exhale, I want you guys to begin dropping the shoulders, allowing the jaw, the neck, the face to relax, feeling the chest, the abdomen, the mid, the lower, the upper back to all begin to release. Using each exhale as a full body sensatory awareness to say, I prefer relaxation, and not asking, but doing. Almost like all these muscle fibers are glued together or Velcroed together. Feel each exhalation relaxing and all the muscle fibers separating away from each other. Dropping different levels of muscle memory, different levels of holding patterns of tension. We already know there's so much movement on the front of the body, but watch this. Take that muscle awareness into the lower back, the mid back, and the hips, and take a deep, slow, probing breath, feeling all the muscular shifting, gliding around the spine, feeling the sacrum slightly opening up with the breath, recognizing there's even movement in the pelvic floor at the very top of the breath. The body is a full, the breath is a full body sensatory experience if you know where to look, if you know what to look for. And this is why you can't understand the chi on the logical thinking pathways. You have to feel, you have to experience. And we only have one more level to go before we start waking this up. I want you guys to start following from the pelvis all the way up through the spine to the skull. Figuring out exactly where the spine is by taking the breath and using it to shift the muscles around the bones of the spine themselves. Knowing where the muscles are not moving and tuning into the bones themselves in between the musculature. And begin following the spine all the way up through the lower back, the mid back, the upper back, right all the way through the neck up into the skull, feeling the inhalation opening and shifting everything around the spine. Using this full body awareness, I want you guys to begin stacking each vertebrae one on top of the next until the head is perfectly perched right on top of the vertebrae. And you can completely relax and your head won't fall forwards, backwards, left or right. There it is. And feel that completely different level of deeper relaxation take over, and breathe around that 0 point. And this is the levels that we need to go in order to experience and feel the chi. What I want you guys to do is begin waking this up. And this is as simple as following the breath into the chest. Starting with the nose, that skin level, feel the inhalation pulling that cooling swirl of twin jets of tornadoes up through the nostrils, through the soft tissues of the sinuses inside of the skull, down through the soft tissues of the throat, down through the windpipe, feeling this cooling, swirling rush all the way down into the lungs, recognizing that you can literally map out your entire lungs and chest cavity with the sensation of the breath. You've had these lungs your entire life, and yet you've probably never felt the wind echoing in the halls of the bronchi, or felt the oxygen absorbing through the alveoli of the lung. Just by turning this dial up and feeling as hard as you have ever felt inside the chest, by following this breath, you're waking up the chi into very, very manageable levels. And all you have to do is begin to move it in order to feel it. So let's begin moving the body level. And this is as simple as extending the lungs all the way down through the abdomen, through the legs, and into the feet. And inhaling just as obsessively as you have been, and feeling that cooling swirl rushing through the face, the throat, the lungs, down through the organs of the abdomen, through the hips, down through the legs, the knees, the forelegs, right into the feet. Taking this cooling wind, this swirling movement, right through the full spectrum awareness. You know exactly where the bones are. Inhale down through the centers. You know exactly where all the soft tissues are. Inhale into every cubic inch. You know right where the skin is. Dance this movement right across it on the surface. Just like you turned up that volume dial with your awareness and your focus, you can turn up the flow of movement inside of the body, taking deeper and deeper breaths, more and more movement, more and more flow and connection. And on the exhale, I want you to begin blossoming open this entire pathway. And this blossom, you don't want to see, you want to feel a flower blooming in fast motion, a toroidal opening and expansion, like a flower opening up, becoming wide. And this is the body language command for relax, for open flow. And this makes more room for each breath. What are you guys noticing there?
I'm like,
how does that feel?
Yeah, I'm buzzing like crazy. I also feel like the flower thing just really expanded everything like beyond my physical body. It really got kind of swooshy, like a vortex-y type energy, but very gentle vortex. Like I don't know how to explain it.
This is the body language command to increase blood flow through the area. And blood is synonymous with chi. Chi is synonymous with blood. But what we're dealing with right here is only the body level, and yet we're a mind, a body, and a spirit. And so as effective as this flow is on the body level, you still haven't applied the spirit yet. We'll do that in a second. How are the rest of you guys feeling? What are you noticing there?
I got nothing. I'm not much of a meditator. I never have been. I yawned about 20 or 30 times easily, no exaggeration. I breathe in and I just had to yawn. So
that's actually an energetic release right there. So you are doing work. It might not be something that you can put a finger on right now, but you are releasing tension through the yawn right now. What about you, Lisa?
It felt relaxing. I have a hard time shutting my mind off. So
gotcha. Okay, well, maybe we should just do the removal right now for you. You've already got decent flow. I could just do this right now and clean out your mind so it's nice and quiet and you'd be able to focus a lot better. You want that?
I'll cut off Brian's off with a little bit of what happened to me. I'm like Nicole actually. It's like you feel high, and I mean the intense vibrations in both hands and feet were felt. I don't know if that was just due to the fact that my oxygen was coursing through my veins big time. But once you started working towards the end on the breathing out part, that's when I was like lightheaded to the point where it wasn't a bad thing, but like you almost feel faint in a way. But again,
hyperoxygenation is something that actually alkalinizes the body. And as you alkalinize the body, you make anything acidic like cancers, dysfunctions, poisons in the body actually start to clean themselves out. And as you clean out toxicity by pumping the organs like that, you're flushing the lymphatic system, and it can make you really, really dizzy as you're cleaning those toxins out, for sure.
My hardest time before, whenever meditating, was besides the monkey brain, was also the intense deep breaths over and over again. And usually I did that for about a minute, and then I would go back to shallow breathing. But you kept us like breathing deep, and I think that's probably what made the big difference.
That's the key. You have to bypass out of the thinking mind and go into the body, and you can only do that by controlling the breath outside of the autonomic function. And when you control it with that, and you put intent and imagery and emotion into the breath, you're actually telling the body specifically what you want. And so it's recognizing, yes, I have these levels built up right here. You don't have direct awareness of them, but we can still release them despite the fact that you aren't going in there and cleaning it out. And so, yeah, it can definitely get to the point to where it can get intense. What you want to do is really just operate in comfort. If you start getting too dizzy, slow the breathing down. If you start getting uncomfortable, like you don't have enough oxygen, speed it up.
It wasn't a bad thing. I mean, I'm sitting up. It wasn't bad necessarily. It was just kind of like a, I mean, a very kind of mild high like feeling.
Very good.
But no,
all right. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I enjoyed
Go ahead.
it.
I couldn't hear you.
Let's go to the spirit side.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys just go back into that breathing right there. But this time what I want you to do is inhale into the hands instead of the feet and clean out those meridians inside of the upper chest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start opening up the flow around Lisa here. Let's make this nice and bright. And I'm going to lift a wave of chi and just drop this over top of the darkness behind her and wrap it up. And I'm going to gently start tugging this out from the base of the neck, the back of the heart space. Let's open this all up here. There we go. Now I'm going to open up the meridian pathways inside of the body. Lungs, heart, pericardium, large intestine, small intestine, triple heater. Let's open up the meridians that run from the head to the feet, gallbladder, liver, stomach and spleen, urinary bladder, and kidney. That right gallbladder is really jammed up. Let's focus on that one specifically first. This right here is most likely that chatterbrain. Monkey mind. There we go. All right, let's clean that out there, flushing that down through the gallbladder itself, right out through the foot. There we go. All right, now you're starting to get a lot more flow already with that one. Let's get the rest of them open. There you go. How are you feeling right now, Lisa?
I feel good. I could feel you in my chest a little bit.
Notice how it's starting to get a little bit more open and it's not so tight now?
Yeah.
It's easier to take a deeper breath, isn't it?
Yeah, I was having trouble breathing before.
Yeah, well, it was trying to shut you down. Like, they don't like these types of things happening. And you're noticing there's a level of anxiety and tension that's starting to let go, and it's feeling kind of releasing now on that emotional level, isn't it?
A little bit. I've been a complete wreck for like 2 days, so.
Oh, I can tell. I can definitely tell. All right, so let's go ahead and start cleaning this out. I'm going to open up the central channel meridians up the spine, over the top and down the front. All right, now let's give your brain a bit of a checkup. What I want you to do is give yourself 10 to 15 seconds worth of silence with the intention of quiet, and check out how silent your head is now. There it is. Now I'm seeing nervous system flow. It's a lot quieter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It'll be a lot easier to focus on the rest of this now, right?
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, so
it's like there's entities in my brain. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here.
Oh yeah, they'll speak in your own voice. They'll make it sound like you are the one talking inside your head, and you're not. A natural human mind is supposed to be completely, totally empty and silent, and you will hear noise, but it's only when you're actively in there speaking. And so effortless focus is something that we're naturally supposed to have. And just by cleaning out the gallbladder and the kidney meridians running through the temples right there, you open that up and you get rid of the chatterbrain, the monkey mind. You don't need techniques to push it in the back of the room. You don't have to, tell it to be quiet and turn the volume dial down. Just pull the stupid thing out of your head and call it good. Like that's as simple as that.
And I think it's funny. It's like these entities or whatever it is that they are know you so well that they talk to you in voices that you recognize, like things that you think you might be thinking about.
Oh yeah, they're very, very insidious. One of the easiest ways for them to get inside is to actually play a song that you really, really enjoy. And so you're just bebopping along to your favorite song, and then the next thing you know, you're thinking about things that happened 10, 15 years ago and starting to get really worked up about it. It's a very subtle infiltration, but it's very obvious once you know what you're looking for.
I've had this one song just playing in my head over and over. Yesterday, it just kept coming into my head. I'm like, why do I just keep singing this same freaking song? And
it's not there right now, is it?
No.
See, that's the trick. You just have to know what your mind sounds like when it's natural. And once you have that awareness, then you can work with it afterwards and say, hey, this isn't natural. Let's clean it out until it feels natural again. It's as simple as that. You just have to know what you're dealing with and what you're looking at with the awareness. All right. So the spirit level is just as simple as putting a gentle smile on your face and recognizing that the smile is the physical symptoms of joy, happiness, excitement, and hope. And when you feel these emotions, when you feel these energies, the smile is a natural thing that just occurs. And so as you're breathing into the body, inhale through the filter of that smile. But this time, in that sensation of movement inside of the body, I want you to echo laughter, not just the sound, but the feeling. Think about the last time you had the giggles and you just couldn't stop. You and your friend, every time you would look at each other, you just go into hysterics over nothing. Think about a child laughing, 3 or 4 years old, just unashamed, belly laughing hysterics, and feel this echoing through the body. Now let's begin focusing on a specific energy center. Let's go into the lower dantian. This is where most people call the sacral chakra, the womb space in women. Let's inhale this energy and this flow into this point, and on the exhale, blossom it open into that toroidal opening sensation, making laughter begin to radiate out, creating more room for more flow, inhaling a deeper level of movement, more laughter, exhaling and blossoming it open. And this right here, you'll begin to feel energy opening up, blood flow opening up inside of the sacrum, inside of the lower back. If you make these connections deep enough through the hip sockets, you'll actually feel the feet fill up with blood. Let's just focus on opening this for the next 5 or 6 breaths or so. Don't forget that laughter. The whole reason they are here is because of the negatively oriented emotional component. And if we bring something that is not a negative emotion into the area, it becomes very inhospitable for them. These are beings of shadow. And as we bring light, it has no choice to fight against it, because what happens when you turn the light on? I don't care how many shadows are there. A single tiny light can chase them all away. That's what we're doing here. And now we're going to apply the mind aspect. So we've covered mind, we've covered spirit. We've covered body, we've covered spirit. Mind is as simple as tapping into the visual frequency of what we're dealing with. Inhale into the lower dantian, blossom it open into laughter and explode it into the brilliant golden sunlight. As bright can be, radiating out through the body, radiating laughter, radiating light, movement. There you guys go. Now there's a connection from the very center of the crown right to the perineum, which is in between the anus and the genitals. And this pathway travels through all of the major endocrine centers of the body, the major chakra centers of the body. What I want you guys to do is prime each of these centers right here and then connect a brilliant crackling bolt of silver electricity, just as bright as the sunlight, just a different frequency, right through the center. Inhaling up and pulling the light from the lower dantian up the pathway of that lightning bolt all the way up into the heart, and exhaling and blossoming open the heart center, blossoming open the lower dantian, making two brilliant suns radiating laughter and excitement throughout the body. Inhaling up through the neck into the head, connecting the dantian systems together, head, heart, lower abdomen, with this brilliant electric connection right through the center. Just like you turned up that volume dial, hit that level of focus, that level of push against things that you can't push physically. And light it up, move more in, make it stronger, make it radiate out more joy, more laughter, more excitement. Use each breath to become more than you were just a second ago. Light it up as bright as you can, as much movement as you can, right to the edge of your limit, and then push it back just a little bit. Train yourself in the spirit. Become strong. And relax. Very good, you guys. Go back to a normal autonomic breathing pattern and just pay attention to the body. Feel. How are you guys doing there?
I thought that was just for Lisa, so I was not doing anything.
It was for everybody, but a good thing it's recorded. You could always go back, huh?
Michael, make up for Brian.
You know, when I open up, after everything, it's like the enjoyable part was the laughing part, and after that, and you know, I literally am trying to follow everything you're saying because I do believe in meditation as far as a very great way of therapy. Like I've been in a few meditations, even yours, Nicole, with the golden light thing that you got going on over golden orb kind of thing. It's just like you lose focus of time when you're in this kind of state is what I've noticed the most. And then when you come out of it, it's like everything's more intense as far as maybe, I mean, like I said, maybe this is all in my brain, but everything's more intense as far as lights and colors and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a really cool feeling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's actually something that people notice more than anything. They'll open their eyes and they'll recognize not only are the colors more rich and more detailed than they're used to, they can see better. It's almost like if they have, poor eyesight, it's like they become sharper.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting way that we can go and heal the body. But let's talk about the eyes for a second. I personally wear glasses myself, and I have been trying to figure out how to fix my eyes for a while. And the reason that the eyes work the way they do is because they're supposed to be a perfectly spherical lens that you get the reflection off of. Astigmatism kind of smushes the eyes out and it makes them look like grapes so that they're more of an elongated oval. This is nothing more than musculature. Why can we not go into that musculature on the level that we want to fix and then have it relax? Because there are cases of multiple personalities where one personality might have, 60-40 vision and the other one has better than 20-20. How does that work? And so I think this is something that we can all tap into, because when you start lighting up your brain and your nervous system with this type of neuronal energy, this chi energy, it's vitalizing everything. You're operating on a completely different electric level than the nervous system is used to operating on, because you're consciously priming it. You're consciously charging it and instead of letting it do what it naturally is, programmed to do.
Yeah, I actually have an astigmatism, and that's something I've been wanting to work on, and it's interesting because that's something I noticed right after we finished this, is my vision got really clear because I'm looking at my computer screen and it's just sharper.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's really sharp, like in a good way. So
now, how do you feel internally?
I feel amazing. I absolutely, like, I had so many sensations going on. Like, at one point I had this, it was almost like there was a mist, like this dewy, cool air over my forearms, and it was like it was emanating off of my body. And then, like, my feet and my hands were just, it felt like the energy was like growing and growing and growing and getting faster and faster and faster. And then my brain, when you told us to go into the brain, I got all these like prickly sensations, like electric prickly sensations, and yeah, like I felt a lot. But I've been really focusing for the last 10 years on going into my body and paying attention to what it's trying to tell me. So it's something that I've been able to work. Like you say, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the more you feel, the more you become aware, and the more you'll notice.
Exactly. And that's the thing is anybody can tap into these energies, even if it's just, well, I kind of felt something move. There's always some type of a sensation. Regardless of whether or not it is something obvious, there's always some type of a shift. Like we had yawning earlier, that's a major emotional release and an energetic back door. Like it's trying to find the path of least resistance to get it to let go, because you're operating on those levels. And it's the same exact thing when you're very well versed at moving chi through the body. It's just you can go into it with awareness and you understand what you're feeling and where you're feeling it, because your nervous system has had so many times to prime these communication pathways that they're strong. And it's just like any type of muscle memory. It's I don't care who you are. When you start something, you're not very good at it if you've never done it before. But the more you do it, the better you get, until I don't care who you are again. Enough time and effort invested into any skill, and you can become an expert, if not a master at it. Internally, when you understand the multiple levels of the body, you can train every aspect of the body. You can train your brain, you can train your marrow, you can train your vascular system, you can train the organs, you can train the meridians, you can train all these different flows. And neuroplasticity isn't just something that's inside of the mind. Neuroplasticity isn't something that's inside of the entire body. And so if you go and give these impulses and intents to take this neural energy through these areas time and time and time again, it's just like as you start off with any type of skill. I don't care who you are. You're not very good at it in the beginning. But the more time and effort that you invest into that skill and doing these techniques, you can eventually become an expert, if not a master at it, with enough practice. And it's the same exact type of thing inside your body. And so just by recognizing that, by having a set of awarenesses inside of you that give you a red flag whenever something pops up, like say, for instance, that you have thought loops that start leading to depression. As soon as those thought loops pop up, you immediately go in and you start breathing into the brain. You start shifting those clear with the happiness, with the joy, with the flow, with the light. You can clean out that process before it even triggers into the emotion. If you don't catch it before you get triggered into the emotion, that's just nothing more than recognizing there's a big pile of inside of you that you don't prefer. So it's time to bring a big flow of something that you do prefer. And then you just fill up the inside of that icky feeling with what you want until it literally just pops it loose. And then you feel it flush loose. It doesn't have any hold on you whatsoever. And all you have to do is just recognize that we are not here to bury things in love and light. We are not here to ignore our problems and stick our head in the sand. We have to walk right up to that darkness, look it right in the eyes, and recognize, despite the fact that the trauma came from the outside, we're the ones who created that poison. We chose to engage in that negative emotion right there and not honor it and not release it. And so we need to release it right then and there. So we walk up to the darkness, we recognize how ugly it is, and we say, my goodness, I am so sorry that I didn't do this sooner. Come here. I made you. I need to hug you. Come on. Let's go. Let's turn into light. Let's turn into love. You don't need to be here anymore. I am so sorry that I've left you here rotting for so long, and light it up. And it's as simple as that. We don't cover things up in love and light. That just creates pressures that shoot things up to the surface later on anyway. We transmute everything. We go in right into the darkest of the dark and we say, I do not prefer this. What I prefer is this right here. And then you bring in so much of it that what you don't prefer has no choice but to leave.
That's just so great. It's so empowering to be able to know that you have the control or the ability to do all of this, because I've often caught myself where all of a sudden I'm like fighting with someone in my head and I'm like, where did this come from? Why am I doing this? You know, like no reason to be fighting with anyone, but I just have this argument and I'm like, okay, no, that's not happening right now. And it's just nice to know like that idea of breathing in the light into the brain and the breath and clearing it all out and kind of bringing in that frequency that is not compatible with the kind of environment that these entities prefer.
Mm-hmm. And it's really simple once you recognize how it works. Like, honestly, my job is so easy. Like, people look at what I do and they're like, oh, Eric, you're just such an amazing master. You're a guru at this. And it's like, no, I'm really not. You know, I'm just a guy who I happen to have some innate awareness already. And I tripped face first into the deep end where I should have never been poking my nose. And I managed to learn how to swim. And I can teach other people how to swim as well. And anybody can do this. It doesn't matter who you are. And my job is nothing more than finding the places that the light is resisting, or that is resisting the light, finding the places that is resisting joy, and then bringing the joy, bringing the light to it, opening up connections to source, and then flushing everything that does not serve right into source. That's literally the scope of my job. And it's really, really easy. And once you know what you're being aware of and what you can do inside of your body, you can do this. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you've never done energy work a day in your life. Once you start tapping into this, it's as simple as aligning yourself with what you prefer in your body and then just paying attention to what you don't prefer in your body that comes popping up and getting rid of it.
So so for our listeners who are listening and they're wanting to try this, what are some of the things that they can look for? Like, for instance, these black spots that you were talking about, how can they recognize them? What are some of the things that people comment as them feeling like, or something? So
one of the things that people really get stuck on is that they have to see these things. Honestly, that's a complete and total fallacy. Sight, third eye activation is not needed to do this type of work right here. What you need to do is be able to feel. And if you can create a field of chi around your body that it is a solid ball of golden light, anything inside of that is not of the light is going to stand out like a sore thumb. You're going to have these dark spots inside of your light that are going to be very, very obvious. And what you're going to want to do is then put your attention, just like you would anywhere inside of the body. If it's outside the body, you put your attention there outside of the body, and you just start building light outside. And so you create as much of a field around you as you can. And if they don't immediately dissolve and turn into light, what you want to do is connect into the central sun, into source, into God, whatever you want to call it, and connect into the creator energy and bring down a vortex or a vacuum that you can just put these things inside of, and it'll get sucked right up into that source energy.
That's amazing.
It's really easy. It's like the equivalent that I use is the pool out in my backyard, my apartment complex here. The pool is an amorphous blob of water. It's just a big body of water that it has no sight, it has no feeling. But if it was conscious and I tossed a chair into it, it might not be able to see or feel that chair, but through the water displacement could tell you the exact size, weight, height, dimensions, and shape of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's literally as simple as that.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thanks so much, Eric. That was wonderful.
You're very welcome. It's what I do.
That's what I do.
We're really excited to have you on the cruise, because I think that's the first time. I actually might meet you before that, but if I don't, then I'm excited to meet you on the cruise. And for all of our listeners, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
So my website is www.unleashingnaturalhumanity.com. All one word right there, Unleashing Natural Humanity. I also have my Facebook page, Unleashing Natural Humanity, same name as well. And then my personal Facebook page is Eric RAINES. I've got a YouTube channel called Eric Pilgrim, and I have, I believe, about 11 or 12 different videos for either meditations, techniques, or things that you can do to improve your state in your body right here, right now. And those are all on my YouTube channel. Geez, what else do I have? I have an Instagram I don't use very often. My Patreon. I actually have a weekly group healing session that I've got going on for my Patreon. That's under Unleashing Natural Humanity as well. And those are all a remote session. Every Sunday, I gather the group together, and for 20 minutes, I broadcast full spectrum energy at them, and we'll have different themes for each of the healings. And so the way people participate in those is they either connect in through one of the meditations that I've already recorded, or a song or a video that I'll have people turn on so that they can have something to meditate to, and then we'll lay down for 20 minutes and you guys go through your own personal thing while I'm on the outside directing the energy, cleaning anything that's stuck off. And it's a really, really powerful type of a weekly booster. And so the people who have actually been doing this with me for the past couple of months, they haven't had to even book any sessions or anything like that, because they've been able to figure out everything on their own. They've have enough chi flow, and I'm here for questions. I'm here for anything like that. It's all on my website. If you have any questions, the contact form's right at the bottom of the homepage. And this is literally my job. This is why I am here. My job is to make sure that every single person on this planet has the opportunity to make the choice of whether they can tap into their chi or not. And all of us can. It's a choice to work at it and actually step up into those levels, or to not do it. And if we don't have that opportunity to choose, then we don't have the opportunity to even realize that the choice is there. And so this is why I'm here, to bring as many people the opportunity to start stepping into these levels as possible, and cleaning themselves out by doing the light work that we came here to do. And the more of us who clean ourselves out on this level, the faster we cleanse the collective. And right now, magic isn't real due to the collective agreeing that it is not. And yet in your personal sovereignty space, your individual reality bubble, it is 100% real, and you can feel it very intensely. And the more of us who clean out our own individual reality bubbles together, the faster we're going to shift the collective. And we are going to force it to the point to where everybody can see and feel these energies, and we will be able to transition into the point to where magic is real on the outside as well, to where you can actually see it. And this is the whole thing that everybody's talking about with like the event, with the solar flash, all of these types of things. It's indicative upon us. We are the reflection of the sun. The sun, as it's getting more intense, it's reflecting the light that we are creating here on our planet. And as we continue to break through on this collective levels individually and together, we will force it to the point to where we have the complete reflection backwards from the sun that we're giving to it. And that's where that solar flash is coming. We are the event. We are that wave of energy. And the more of us who tap into this, the faster it'll come. It's all about how fast you want it to come. That's how much energy you got to put into it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And I'm going to leave all of your information in the show notes as well for everyone. So if you missed it or you didn't write it down, it'll be in the show notes and take you direct links to everywhere that Eric just said. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Eric. That was a lot of fun.
You are very welcome. I really enjoyed it. You guys are awesome. I can't wait to meet you guys in Florida.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and Michael says bye. He had to just jump off really quickly just towards the end. So he found it very interesting, he said, and he wanted me to let you know. And he's looking forward to meeting you as well.
Definitely. I can't wait to meet all of you guys. I'm really excited about this cruise. Let's get this going.
I know. It's a lot of fun. And so, again, to all of our listeners, I'm going to leave all of the cruise details. You have until May 13th to register so that you can guarantee yourself a spot on the cruise. Certain cabin blocks are already selling out. So the sooner you get your ticket, the better off you are. And we would all love to see you there and have you participate on the show with us and all get to know each other. Come meet your frequency family. So thanks everyone for being with us today, and we will be with you next time. So if you have any questions, please send them into our email, info@enlightenup.us. And of course, if you need any more information about us, you can head on over to our website, enlightenup.us. Thanks again, Eric. Have a great evening. And Lisa, Brian, love you both.
Love you too.
Love.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Bye. Thank you.